Today's episode of Desertwood Days with Kathy Blaze is sponsored by Cole Obarts Entertainment, providing amusement, celebration, and distraction since 2013. To find out more, visit us on the web at www.coleobartsent.com.
I wanna visit all the places nobody goes. I wanna teach all the things that nobody knows. I wanna grow wings, leave the coop, learn to fly. Bungee jump from the tallest building in Dubai. I wanna fly around town in my UFO. I wanna eat real food, not the GMOs. I wanna make moves, call the shots like the boss. I wanna love like I never lost.
Welcome back to Desertwood Days. I am so excited for our next guest. He's a photographer here in Arizona, and I've seen his work and love his work. So I'm just truly excited to introduce Mr. West Eal to you guys today. Hello there.
Hey.
How are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good to see you.
Likewise.
Good. I'm just taking a hug.
It's all right.
Mr. West Eal. Is that your real name?
No. I mean, if you have about 2 minutes, I can tell you the story.
Let's hear about West Eal.
Okay. Imagine the dawn of internet, right? Right when the internet became popular, someone asked me, they said, hey, you can get free stuff if you have an email address, right? And I'm like, okay. And so what I did is I came up with the name West Eal, and they're like, dude, you're not really built for this type of lifestyle. They kicked me out their little organization, and that was it. So what happened was when I stopped being a chef, and when I started to do photography, I needed a name, and I used that old email address. And there was a model by the name of Adine. She seen my name, and she started calling me West. And it's stuck ever since then, so everyone calls me West now.
Okay. Yeah. I love that.
Right? It's a funny story, right?
That is a great story. You weren't cut out for it, huh?
Nah, I wasn't cut out for that. I wasn't built that way, I imagine.
Well, you know what? You're built for what you're doing right now.
Thank you.
Yes, you are. So, West, first off, are you a native of Arizona?
No, I'm from California.
Okay, you're close enough.
Yeah,
we'll accept you.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I've been here for 13 years.
Yeah, so you're part of us
I'm
now.
an Arizonian now.
So, I want to know what the young West was like.
Well,
how did you get into this industry?
Well, actually, thank you for asking. When I was growing up in California, we had a kind of like a commune. There was a really large property that my family still owns. And my grandmother was like a really holistic, natural person. She was an RN, but she also was a painter. And she played the piano and did everything around the yard. Like everything was like hands-on with her. So we were not allowed to watch television unless it was action adventure movie. So I grew up on like Indiana Jones and things like that. And also our reading was a library of National Geographic magazines. And I remember at the age of 6, I picked up this magazine and I seen a picture of this young lady in there, and she was wearing a grass skirt, and she had kind of like a leather bound of books, and she was in the middle of the jungle. And I seen that picture, and obviously I wasn't good enough or smart enough at the time to read a National Geographic magazine. I just knew I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to somehow put myself in that story and be able to tell stories like that. So that was the first time I ever had the photography bug, but it didn't hit until I got out here when I was 35. But that was the first time that I thought, okay, I wanted to do something to tell stories through picture.
Oh, that is awesome. You know what? I was talking with a guest from another show, and as an adult, we tend to grow up and start doing other things in our life, and we tend to forget where that stemmed from. But you know what? You have this rich history from your grandparents. I mean, with the compound and your grandma being a nurse and everything that was instilled in you, that was always a part of your life.
Yes.
So it wasn't like you could have walked away from that because that was who you were.
Exactly.
And sometimes we get away from that and forget, even though we forget, it never leaves us.
That's true.
And as artists, it's always there. We're going to get back there some way. We don't know what way, but we're going to get back
Completely
there
agree with
because
you.
it's a part of us. I think that is a seed that was planted in us I'd say when we were born,
Yeah.
that West is going to be this type of creative, or in some form you're going to be creating something. That, because I think that's a part of who we are. And
Exactly.
while we're here, I always tell people, you know what? I always felt like I was doing stuff for Kathy Blaze, but uh, found out that it wasn't about me. I
Mm.
was here to do these things, and that's what makes us who we are as a
Yes,
person.
100% agree with you.
So, as this creative that you are, this may be West's work, but you're creating things that are embellishing other people's lives and creating things that tells a story to their
Yes.
lives. Because I've seen some of your work, and I mean, you have a broad amount of work out there,
Thank
from
you.
families to business professionals. So you're helping people in all those different areas.
Thank you.
So as this creative, how does that make you feel after you say you touched a mom and baby's life through photo?
Believe it or not, the higher up the my skill set gets, and the more people I reach, the smaller I feel, because I've started to realize that this world is a lot bigger than my small community of
Mm,
clients.
mm,
So it makes me very excited that I want to go out there and reach more than just Arizona or
mm-hmm.
America or whatever the case may be. And it's kind of overwhelming, but being growing up in the black community, we kind of like socially compartmentalize
Mm,
ourselves, right?
mm-hmm.
And I honestly had to kind of, this might sound controversial, but I had to like turn my back on certain aspects of the culture and
Mm-hmm.
follow my dream.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people that I grew up with right now sees me as a nerd or something like that.
Mm,
That, oh man, you changed up, you're whatever the case
mm.
may be. And it's not that I changed up, it's just that I realized that my world is bigger than that neighborhood that I grew up in.
Yep, that's true.
It's bigger than just my race, it's bigger than just my culture. So some
Right.
aspects of the culture had to be stopped in order for one
Mm-hmm.
to make my mission on being the greatest photographer ever
Mm.
more real, and for
Right.
two, there's people looking at me, such as my children,
Right.
and if
Right.
they see me as a small figure, if they see me as somebody that can't like think outside of the community or outside of the box, then that kind of limits them.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But one another way of looking at it is that even though you may have worded it as if you were leaving the community or had to turn your back for this moment, your back may be turned, but you're also always giving back because of who you are and where you belong.
100%
And
agree.
yes,
Yeah.
you may have people back there, blah blah blah, because
Hmm.
they're not following their dreams and doing what they're supposed to do, following their passion in life. But it will always be there. You will always be a part of that.
Yeah.
Okay, I grew up in South Phoenix. No matter where I go or what I do in life, that's always here. And my goal is always to help my community. I'm an
Yeah.
Arizona native, and no matter what I do, where God takes me in this world, I will always be Kathy. And I will
Exactly.
always be to give back to my community.
I think that the way people like you and I, creatives, give back to our community is through our presence.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that, we give them like another aspect or another like a goal to look at, because growing up, I mean, in the 80s and 90s, all we seen is us being entertainers and athletes, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you being a host of a show, a very
Mm-hmm.
successful show, and me being a photographer, these little black children looking up, and even
Right.
Hispanic and even white, I'm not
Right.
gonna, stop
Right.
myself. Them seeing us is just like, wow, there is another avenue. So
Mm-hmm.
when I said turning my back on the culture, I didn't mean, I just meant like
Sure, I know what you
the,
meant.
okay, well,
Yeah, I
okay,
knew
no
what you
need to say it
meant.
then.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that the biggest thing we can do is kind of break the status quo and not be the striving for to be the best rapper. I'm
Right.
not knocking our,
No,
our
'cause-
genre, but
No.
I mean, how many best rappers are there going to be? How many
Right.
athletes are there going to be?
Right.
There's so many other genres out there that the Black community can get into
Right.
and be a example for other
Right.
children.
Because everyone isn't going to be a rapper or a basketball player, a musician. There's going to be some photographers.
Yeah.
There's going to be some talk show hosts. There's going to be some camera people. There's a place for everyone, and one place isn't better than any other place.
Right.
We all have a piece in this puzzle.
Yes.
And that is, one thing, and that's to give back to this world, to do our part. So, Wes, we were talking about photography and how we give back to our community and things that's going on. And I tell me about one of your favorite projects that you've worked
on. Gosh, I like them all, but I think my favorite projects are the ones where the client gives me the free will to use my imagination and my imagination only. Not too long ago, I worked with Pepsi, and they just told me to go out with a camera, nothing big, no like studio lights or anything like that. So I just walked around with Pepsi cans, giving them people, taking pictures of people enjoying Pepsi. Yeah, yeah, and that was pretty fun. But anything that I can start from like a blank page and build up from there are my favorite projects.
Oh, where does your creativity come from?
Oh man, funny. Start off honestly, grunge rock. So the Kurt Cobains, the Incubus, some of their videos are like on the cuffs of being either completely creative or completely destructive. So that, in company with photos I've seen of the Black Panther Party, anything that has to do with strong cultural roots, not just Black cultural roots, but anything that people can relate to, because subliminally people want to see something that they could like reminisce on, like, oh my God, that remind me of something I seen when I was a child.
That is so
thought-provoking.
That is so true. And people forget how important that is. Your job is so important. I always say, I'm surprised I didn't become a photographer because I love pictures so much. And I think I look back at I love old pictures.
Yes.
Those are, I mean, they just do so much for your heart. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, this is a conversation.
Yeah. But your job is very important.
Thank you.
And I know you consider it's not just a job for you.
No, it's definitely a passion. I always been an artistic person. I just so happened to choose photography and stick with it because, like I said before, I was a chef. But
still creative.
Oh yeah, exactly. And it just, I wasn't allowed to be as creative as I wanted to. I had to do what the restaurant asked me to do. So it kind of took the passion away from me. And cooking 300 plus plates a night, that becomes very overwhelming.
Yeah,
so
being a chef is a different story unless you're a personal chef.
Exactly. So no.
Well, I know you brought some media. Let's take some looks at your pictures you brought today.
I don't remember the name of this couple, but they said they wanted to do a Calvin Klein ad.
Okay.
And the gentleman was like 6'5" and she was like 4'11".
Wow.
So most of the pictures, I only sent this one, but most of the pictures I had him sitting down because she was almost at his waist. And was done at the Scott. I think it's called the Scott. It's in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's a really high-end hotel. And one thing I liked about this the most, he was a lawyer and he only had about 15 to 20 minutes and I got it out. I did my job, and being a photographer, you have to learn the tricks of the trade in order to be able to come up with images like this at the drop of a dime. So I was really proud of myself for that.
I love that.
Thank you.
I can see that being in a commercial.
Oh, thanks. She works on the radio. I can't remember her name neither. These are really old photos, by the way. And I did that for a very close friend of mine. it was her clothing line. I don't think she has a clothing line any longer, but I snapped that one on accident and I fell in love with it. I was
Mm,
like, this is something
very
that can,
classic looking.
that's exactly, that kind of
Yes.
goes into what I was saying, like something that can like stand the test of time. This is
Yes.
not trendy. It's something that you can see today and 20 years from now and still have the
Right.
same
Yes,
impact.
I agree.
That was done at my studio. I have a studio down in Chandler called the Lens Lounge, and that was a picture of a young lady.
Oh, she's
Her name
beautiful.
is I can't remember her name either, but
It's hard to remember names
yeah,
when you're on the spot.
exactly. The reason why I chose this because before and after the picture, she giggles and she like does that snort noise, and
Oh.
it's so fun working with her because she has this really giggly, bubbly personality.
Oh.
I know her name. That's Janae Mohammed.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an icon. That's my friend right there. That was taken about 6 years ago, and that was another one when I had like maybe 5 minutes to pull that picture out because the
Oh.
makeup artist took way too long, and so we had to
Oh.
rush to
But
a
she looks so
cornfield.
natural.
Right. It was the test shot. That was
Yeah.
honestly the first maybe 3 frames. It was a test shot.
Right.
So
I would say, why did it take so long with the makeup? Because she looks so natural.
right. She's
Beautiful
yeah.
lady.
That's Miss Muhammad. That's my friend. I like her a
I
lot.
love that picture.
Thank you.
Okay, now.
Okay, well, that one was done in my studio as well. I was interviewing for a company that did something called flat lays. Flat lays is a camera being shot down at the subject or the product,
Oh.
and that's what I did. And I still have that bottle. I don't really drink too much,
Oh.
but it's still in my studio right now.
Did you get the job?
No, I did not. So that one right there, I did a couple of days ago for a sponsor of mine, Whiskey Smith, that makes flavored whiskey, and
Oh, okay.
just went over there to Salt River and took that with the campfire behind it.
Hmm.
Came out good. The whiskey is actually very, very good, and I'm
Oh.
not plugging them right now, but I mean, you guys ever looking for some good whiskey? Whiskey
Mhm.
Smith is one of them. Another flat lay for this interview, for that
Oh.
new purpose. Nothing really flashy.
Oh.
That was a wedding. That guy plays professional baseball. Don't know his name. I don't know his wife's name. And that was one of the other times I had just a little bit of time to
Oh.
shoot that picture. That was done in North Scottsdale as well. I just took a light, put it right behind him, and I pointed it up at the awning thing.
Mhm.
And it came out amazing. They loved it, and so do I.
I do too.
Thank you.
That's a beautiful picture. So, being a photographer, what is your next? Where do you see your next level from this point?
Well, honestly, there's only so many pictures you can take. So what I'm doing now, I'm kind of leaning towards education and
Oh.
helping other photographers that are starting off with their marketing
Oh.
and giving them a sense of direction. Because when I was coming up, I had no one to teach me that.
Right.
So I want to start on the education level.
Which is
And-
a good idea because everyone that pick up a camera think they're a photographer
Oh
now.
yeah.
Right.
I've seen that so many times. Like more than any business out there, you see there's like maybe 1,000 photographers starting every month,
Mm-hmm.
and about maybe 1,200 that stop every month. So it's just like
Right.
ebb and flow,
Right.
So with the proper education, I believe that maybe they
I
can-
think that's a great idea, and especially talking about giving back to the community. I mean, this is something I'm sure the schools would love, even in the universities that have become be an instructor in the schools.
I've actually had people reach out to me and wanted me to help with I think it's like getting college course electives or something like that. I haven't really explored the idea too much because my studio at the time wasn't fully functional. Now it is.
Right.
So I can facilitate the
Hmm.
idea if it presents itself again.
Yeah, I think one of our cinematographers did that, and he just absolutely loves it. So I think it's a great idea, especially when you have the opportunity to come in there and teach them, create your own curriculum, and
Yeah.
teach them what you know, not what they want you to teach them.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So where can our audience find you?
Everywhere actually. Just type in West Eal, WESTEAL. On Instagram is WESTEAL_photo. And if you type in West Eal Photography on Google, I'm there. Plenty of ratings, blue check certified on Google, not on Instagram yet, but we're working on that.
You know what? I didn't ask you, and I'd like to ask this question. You're a mature man. What advice would you give to that adult out there, or anyone that's looking at you and say they want to do what you do?
You have to, honestly, it's funny you say that, is you have to remain in some ways in your psyche kind of immature. You
Mm,
can't believe that this isn't going to work.
mm.
You can't believe that if I don't perform that the bills won't get paid. You have to have some type of naivety in order to make this work. You have to have some childlike
Mm,
personality traits,
right.
because if you let that adult thinking get in the way, you're not going to live out your
I
dreams.
say that with all things that I talk about is that we grow up and we forget to be a child again.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
forget about being a child. Well, thank you. It was such a pleasure
Thank
having you here
you.
today. And we thank you for joining us here on Desertwood Days, and we'll catch you next time.
Today's episode of Desertwood Days with Kathy Blaze is sponsored by Cole, Obarts Entertainment. Providing amusement, celebration, and distraction since 2013. To find out more, visit us on the web at www.coleobarts.com.